so tubing comes, it looks more complicated than it is, but I promise it is quite easy. So red tubing follows the red line. Red arrow faces you, so in it goes. Blue tubing follows the blue line, and blue arrow goes in there. This little thing just holds, this is your blood filter. And the only place that you really have to push it into the machine is right here. And then just kind of make sure that it's kind of in the grooves there. Otherwise, close it up and kind of push a little bit to close it. And you can do it with it turned on or off, either way. Let me use the other tubing and we'll show you how it flows. All right, so let me do this without me making a huge mess. So obviously it's not going to be spiked and your fluid's not going to be nasty looking like that, right? So at the top here, you have 3 hoses, so a little bit different than your regular blood tubing. There's kind of this single one, and then there's kind of a Y one. It really doesn't matter which one, but you're gonna spike one of them with fluid and clamp off the other 2, just like you would with blood tubing. And this tubing has obviously been practiced with a lot, so it's not gonna fit in there quite like that newer stuff. So this little button here, this is an air sensor to make sure that you don't give your patient an air bolus or air emboli. And all right, so we got our tubing loaded again. Close it, we turn the big power button on. It's gonna warm up for a second. It does have a battery, so yes, it's plugged in. There's a battery, so if we're going from ER to OR, it'll still work. But once it gets to the OR, it needs to plug back in. The warmer won't work while it's on battery. So on here, it's all touch screen. It just says prime. So we spike our big bag of NS, and we open up our bag of NS and hit prime. So now it's pulling fluid from our NS bag down through our filter, and it's pulling all the air out of the tubing here on the side, and it's venting out this small little tube. It vents all the air out, and then it bubbles out the top. So you don't have to re-prime it beforehand, the machine does it. So now we have fluid all the way through it to this little valve right here, this black piece. So now it should look more like regular IV tubing. So now we have it ready to hook to our patient. So this is our patient. Look how anemic they are. So disconnect. So we open it up. So now it gives us a patient line prime. So now we're standing over the trash can, right, waiting for the fluid to come and get all the air out of it, just like we would with any other tubing. All right, so there's our last air bubble. Drip, drip, drip into the trash can. Stop, and now we can hit infuse, and it's ready to go. So now let's say this is our blood product here. So we clamp off our NS, here's our blood product, we do our paper, and we hit infuse. So this can infuse up to, it says right here, 750 mLs per minute. So you can just hit right here, 500 mLs per minute, and it's instantly just going to start going.
Right.
And it's angry at me.
Make sure you have a good IV.
We'll open that up because it's trying to...
Is that the bolus button for that set to the 500 mils?
Yeah, so you can just go bolus, or you can do it
Push
by
it.
increments of 10.
Yeah.
It automatically heats, so you can feel that it's already nice and warm.
Yeah, you do not use warm saline to go with this. You just keep room temp. So get another cover. Do not use warm because it'll sense if it's overheated too before it gets to the patient. It has a sensor in it. So do not use warm NS.
And then things on here. So if you get stuck, guide how to load the tubing. Also, it says how fast you can infuse fluid and blood based off of your IV. Cool things about this. So it has on here temp. Obviously, it just warmed up nice. But it also has on here P equals pressure. So if you have a really small line and it starts to feed, so if it's infusing and I set it to 500, but I have this clamped down a little bit, it's gonna adjust and say there's too much pressure, you're gonna blow your line. So it'll auto adjust. So even though I have it at 500, it's gonna slow it down to what it can handle to not blow your lines. So much better than like if you've played with the level 1s where it was like you just pressure it in and it doesn't matter what the IV's doing. This one will adjust for the pressure a little bit. One other cool button on here, so you can do a recirculate. So that's 338 ml, so that's about a bag of blood already. So recirculate on here. So let's say you're transfusing and the surgeon wants you to stop for some reason. You're worried about your blood clotting. If you hit recirculate, it'll stop the flow, but it's gonna pull the blood through the machine, through the filter, and keep it warm while we're waiting for whatever reason.
Keep it moving, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then when you're ready to go, just right back to infuse and away it goes. So saline obviously is going to be, you're not going to put LR through it because you're giving blood. You're also not going to, you're going to do packed red blood cells, whole blood, or plasma. So platelets we don't carry in this hospital, but you would do platelets in separate tubing. Cryo we do carry, but you're also going to do in separate tubing. So it's just going to be your packed red blood cells and your plasma is what you're going to put through it. The tubing, regular blood tubing, you say change every 4 hours. This is going to be good for your whole MTP. So if you're given blood products, you're going to dump the whole hospital's blood supply through this same set of tubing before, and then you're done, right? Because no more blood. So they're either alive or dead at that point.
Oh
So.
You know, real quick with how fast
Then life flight's coming into the OR.
they're gonna be really late because all the blood's gonna be in there. 5 minutes.
And yeah, that's kind of the quick down and dirty. This big hook here, we don't carry that tubing, but it's more for like a pediatric thing. You would put it up here, and then you can kind of like the
Micro drips.
yeah, kind of like the micro drips. You can monitor a little bit more closely how much fluid. As far as pediatrics go, heaven forbid we ever have a pediatric MTP, but 20 kilograms, less than 20 kilograms, we're not going to use the Belmont. We're going to use the syringe push-pull, so a 3-way stopcock push-pull, and the hotline warmer. So you'll use regular blood tubing, syringe with a 3-way stopcock, and then the hot warmer, and you'll push the blood in that way. Above 20 kilos, you can use the Belmont. Just be mindful of how much fluid. It does track right here volume, and that's volume that's infused into the patient. So volume that's gone from there. What questions do you guys have? Sorry, I know that was down.
Not
and
until you have to use
perfect.
it.
So there is going to be an MTP
yes.